Yes, you're good. You're good. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for the invitation, RFB. Good to be with you.
PC, you're PC, eh?
Well, PDC, my middle name's Dave.
PDC,
So,
PDC. Well, okay. Kilt's better not be a KKK. We're in real trouble now.
No.
Well, so you heard
No.
you heard some of what we were talking about. I think this is a lovely segue into the
Mhm.
problem of storytelling that we've been building up to talking about.
spells. It's a
Yeah.
great segue.
It's all casting,
Yeah,
spell casting. So
spell.
you were helping me the other night. I was feeling frustrated about our ability to pitch our story, which I did. Chuck Dixon, when he was on, he was talking about how important it is to have the opening scene in the comic grab your reader and get them in, and I help us get into the story. How do we pitch how do we pitch ourselves? And I advertised you in the coming into this, Patrick, as you've done screenwriting and written books yourself, but the sort of, if we want to get people to Christ, how do we do it?
How much time
And
do
go
I have?
on, start. Yeah, I'm tired. You can talk.
Well, I always like just simple and easy 101, and that is start with the definition. What is a story? My favorite definition comes from David Howard, who for many years was the master screenwriter at USC for screenwriting. He's the mentor to hundreds of screenwriters whose movies you would remember. Everyone knows about Steven Spielberg and Matt Damon and Tom Hanks, but they don't know about Robert Rodat, who wrote Saving Private Ryan. So David Howard is kind of a screenwriting guru. And he said a story happens when someone wants something badly and is having a hard time getting it.
Desire.
All great stories have that desire and not just desire that's thwarted. It has to be thwarted. Joseph Campbell, in his 1999 book, Hero of the Thousand Faces, calls it the hero's journey, the call to adventure. You can't have the hero go, yeah, I'm on board, yes. No, he's got to be dragged out of retirement for one last thing. Be a James Brown, ride or die with really high stakes for the story to work, because our entrance into the story is the protagonist, is the hero. We live vicariously through that person's journey, through the hero's journey. And so think about the greatest, I think it was 1965, The Ever Told, starring Jeffrey Hunter as Jesus. That accidentally has baked into it a really profound thing, that the incarnation is the greatest story. The greatest, not just the greatest story that's happened, the greatest story that can happen, where God, if the uncreated God, enters history and becomes finite in some way through the manhood of Jesus that he gets through the Archangel Gabriel's marriage proposal to the Blessed Mother, and voila, you have the incarnation. So he lives and he dies and he rises from the dead, and that's the greatest story ever told. So it's not. It would be surprising if the great stories didn't participate in some way in the greatest story. Think of the greatest story as the epitome of it, like the superlative. Just a quick sidebar, because I have ADHD. Don't judge me. The struggle is real.
We judge here. We judge.
Jeffrey Hunter was the first Captain Kirk in the pilot episode of Star Trek before William Shatner. He's the guy who played Jesus in the greatest story ever told. End of sidebar. So let's apply David Howard's definition to the incarnation. A story happens when someone wants something very badly and is having a hard time getting it. So the protagonist of the gospel is our Lord and Savior. So what's he want? Very badly.
Us.
He wants us. And if you look at, I call this your price tag. I don't have my price tag on me. Looking over there, I see my price tag, and it's a crucifix on the wall. That's the hard time he had in getting us, and he was thwarted at every stage. And in the that's the macro, right? Say the Holy Week, micro of what he did and how much he suffered. but the macro is from Genesis to Revelation, where you do have a beginning, a middle, and the end. You have creation, you have its loss, and then you have its recovery. But you don't just go back to Eden. You get this upward bounce to an unimaginable destination that makes Eden look like, I don't know, a very Brady Christmas or something. It would be like going back to Egypt, but with some air conditioning as opposed to the Promised Land. So that's in a nutshell something I'm pretty fascinated by, how Hollywood blockbusters keep accidentally retelling the gospel because they're participating to greater or lesser degrees in the greatest story ever told. In fact, I have a book I'm trying to, because ADHD is real.
We're still judging.
I have a book in my mind. I know, I feel it. I feel the hatred.
Judging.
I should start wearing.
Judging is good. This is we judge writing our poem all the time. Does this fit? Judgment is necessary.
Yeah, does it fit? A good story. A story question. Does it work? Is another way to put it. Not do I like it? Because as I know you all do, if you're writers, you have to become accustomed to murdering your babies. You have to kill. And
that's why Kilts is Kilts. She murders our babies. She goes.
And I'm just thrown too.
What's the point of having a token goth? What's the point of having a token goth if I'm not going to go in there and kill everyone's like hopes and dreams every day? I come in, I say, no, this is horrible. It doesn't fit. Stop. Do it again.
The question becomes pretty quickly, Kilts, do you kill your own little babies, or are you the slayer of others' babies?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm fairly relentless in that way.
Good. You can always save them. People think that killing your babies means deleted forever. No, you should have a file. You should have a file of ideas.
I have bits, right? You have to have the bits.
They can have life. They can have life in somewhere else that you don't even anticipate at the time. So it's not. It's killing with an asterisk around killing.
Save it for later.
Yeah. So anyway, this book I have in my head. It's not written yet, and my tentative title is Hollywood Jesus: How Blockbusters Keep Accidentally Retelling the Gospel. And I do think it's accidental. So can I give you 3 examples? So really compressed. So these are probably movies you've seen. Let me start with one that might be the most arcane of all, and that is the adaptation for Broadway of Little Orphan Annie. It was filmed for the first time in 1979, directed by, of all people, John Huston, starring Albert Finney as Daddy Warbucks, and I forget the actress's, Aileen Kelly, I think her name is. Aileen Quinn plays Annie, and the great Carol Burnett plays Miss Hannigan. And so Annie is a really good example of this. Annie is anima. Annie's the soul. So she's our entrance lane onto this highway known as the story of Annie. And so we identify with her. She's the soul, and she's an orphan, and we're orphans. And she lives in a fallen world, and so do we. Her fallen world is run like by a demon, as ours is, but her demon is again alcoholic, disordered, forces the kids to say, Miss Hannigan, right? They pretend to love her, but they all despise her. So who adopts Annie? Daddy Warbucks.
Yep.
And he lives in a mansion with many rooms. Is this starting to ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
So he has this mansion and dispatches his emissary to go into not a nice area, the worst area, and the worst orphanage in the worst area. And he picks the kid who's the most upstarty, the most most in need of riddle and overdose. she's basic, she's pugnacious, she's full of spunk, as they say. And so Daddy Warbucks makes his presence known to Annie, his emissary. Do you remember the name of his secretary that he dispatches to go get her? Grace Farrell. So Daddy, so the Abba of wealth dispatches Grace and adopts Annie and brings her to his mansion, and that exodus, that liberation of Annie from fallen world of slavery, happiness with a father who loves him, and there's even a lovely. I get goosebumps thinking about this. There's a hint at the end that Daddy Warbucks and Grace will marry. Artful. John Huston's a genius. He gave us, the Maltese Falcon and Treasure of Sierra Madre. His son Danny Huston's a very good actor as well. So there's one of those incarnational elements that once you see them, you can't unsee them. So the other one is E.T. Melissa Kathleen Kennedy, I think, is the screenwriter. She's a former spouse of Harrison Ford, as it turns out. And so, what is E.T.? You all saw E.T., right? Oh my God! That was like the big tearjerker of the '80s. I think it's still in the top 5 moneymakers of all time.
So I really disliked E.T. So you're that's what worked. Casey, you need to step out. I need the bandwidth for him. Yeah. Okay. You can come back in later.
Bye, Casey. Sorry.
We need the front. We need the front world being able to see Patrick move.
Okay. All right.
Yes, you can move. Yes, very good. Very good. Very good.
I'm a mime. Don't shoot me.
No. It's like we've only got so much bandwidth on the Skypes.
Gotcha. So it doesn't really matter if you love it or hate it. It's the elements. It's the thing that works.
No, I want to like a Christ story. Yeah. So if it is a Christ story, I'm in trouble.
Well, it's a great story, which means there's going to be the Christ element is at the heart of it. I'm always a little bit nervous when people say Christ story, Christ element, Christ figure, because it sounds like the critique that Tolkien gave to C.S. Lewis about Narnia being it's too on the nose. So the main thing is not to make the main thing the main thing. My screenwriter Linda Seeger taught me that. So you want to be
the main thing is not to make the main thing the main thing.
Correct.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So
you have to help us workshop Draco Chemicus.
Okay. Well,
we'll send you a copy. We sent you cards. You're going to show us those.
Okay. Yeah. No. I got him.
Yay. Okay. So
a good example of the main thing, not the main thing, is the character Walt Kowalski in Jason Hall's movie, directed by Clint Eastwood, called Gran Torino. The best Christ figures start off in the first act as a-holes. You're not really supposed to like them because if they're virtuous and sinless, you can't relate to them. There's like a distance. Like most movies, I call them by-for products. They're made by Christians for Christians. They're crappy. They don't. None of them land on me. But give me a secular Jew or a lapsed Catholic who writes about this, and I'll show you a story where the person's, it's like their own feeling lost is built into what their characters are reaching out for, is what they're reaching out for. And that's why you have a movie like Gran Torino starring the director, which is very hard to do, to direct yourself, Clint Eastwood, as Walt Kowalski, this Korean War vet, who literally in the course of the movie learns to love his enemies, the Hmong neighbors. Have you seen Gran Torino, Kiltz?
Yeah, I have. I don't remember the whole film, but he was not likable.
Right, he's not likable at all. But he has that lovable curmudgeon thing going on. And in the end, if it's a wonderful movie to rewatch, because you see the time. It's like he timed how long it would take him. Spoiler alert! How long it would take him to lock the boy Tao in his basement, so that he's going to go after the antagonists. And he times it after he goes to get fitted for his own burial, right? In the end, he knows they're armed to the teeth and they're up in the clown house, and he wants to lure them out. And he's got his granddad jacket on, and at the last minute, he sees them, and he does this. He quickly reaches into his jacket as though he's going to pull his gun, which he's done 3 times in the movie. The script primes us for that action of taking the gun, but he usually does this. He does it with the black gang members. He does it with the slow-mo, the car as they're riding by. he's always pointing with no gun. So the last scene is he does this because he knows he's going to die in a hail of bullets. And that's exactly what happens. And the police hear this and they come and they're actually arrested. So they are brought to justice just as Tao and his sister are arriving. So they see Walt on the ground, having been slain by the devils in the room in the clown house. And Eastwood has this really quick shot. It's probably a 16th of a second. His camera's it's going away from him, and there's two shots in quick succession. One is a little river of blood from his palm, and the other he's in cruciform. But you would never, if you just watch it.
It's very light.
Yeah, it's super fast. It's like the devil image that appears 3 times in Blatty's script for The Exorcist. It's like a 24th of a second. It registers. It's enough. It hits you on an unconscious level. So there's a good example of a Christ figure that's not likable. I know I'm bouncing around here. I want to get back to E.T.
Okay, so yeah. So I've got E.T. on my head. This is the metaphor. The metaphor we have for this on our streams now is I throw a boomerang and we wait for 3 hours. It comes back, right? And I was like, hold on to all of it because it's gonna come back.
Do you know what a boomerang that doesn't come back is? What it's called? A stick.
A stick. Okay.
So
we got E.T., but I'm okay. Tell us E.T. I think tell us E.T. and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. All right.
But I don't like
5
IT.
seconds.
You were proving with Gran Torino with you can have a Christ figure that you don't necessarily like, and I think that's actually appropriate to Christ. It's like he's not liked in the Gospels, right? That's kind of the point, which is different from like I think you're supposed to like ET. He's kind of weird shaped and stuff, but he's a puppet, right? So the kids like him. I find it creepy the way he's sort of. He's not kid friendly. He's the ET and the secret kid world. I think makes me bothered.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, another unlikable Christ figure is the atheist who eats all the eggs in Cool Hand Luke, played by Paul Newman. Would be another example. How can an atheist be a Christ figure? Watch the movie and get back to me. So ET is about an alien who comes to Earth from a different world. And he's a stranger here. He's misunderstood by everybody. On the one hand, he's a cute puppet, so kids naturally trust him. On the other hand, he's got a Flannery O'Connor-esque grotesqueness about him. He's not cute. He's ugly, actually. And so he's not the hero you're looking for. And the authorities want to get him because they want to control his powers. They want to experiment on him. And they chase him throughout the movie. And the character played by Peter Wolf in the script is called Keys. Spielberg always shows him carrying keys, like security keys. Mm-hmm. And E.T., his presence in a room vivifies nature. Plants come back to life. E.T.'s touch heals. E.T. dies and rises from the dead again. In fact, his heart glows red. I'm telling you, it's the freaking Sacred Heart. I mean, but
I see it, but I don't like it, right? It's like it's.
You don't. Yeah. I'm not asking you to. ET is not for everybody. Not all these movies land equally on everybody.
Yeah.
So, the last scene where Keyes puts his hand on Henry the Carrot's Elliot on his mom's shoulder, like The Exorcist, ET is also the backdrop of ET is divorce. The father has left the mom. And so the final scene of E.T. is on this mountain, this sort of mound, hillish thing in suburban Los Angeles. And to me, it's the Mount of the Ascension of Matthew chapter 28. And E.T. makes his last discourse to his people. Be good. I'll be right here. And then he touches Elliot, right? Be good. I'll be right here. Doesn't that sound a bit like I'll be with you low until the end of the age? Mm-hmm. And then he leaves, he climbs onto his craft, and up it goes. It ascends. And there's the contrail at the end of the rocket as it goes back home. E.T.'s finally home. and the contrail is a rainbow.
Oh, well, that's that's sweet.
So
yeah, but it's set in Hollywood. It's set in Los Angeles. It's like you've got demon problems out there.
It's never identified as Los Angeles.
Okay. It's just filmed there.
It's a stand-in. San Fernando Valley is kind of like America's suburb. Yeah, there's no shots of the Hollywood sign.
Okay.
You don't.
No, you just know it's but the landscape and everything fits with where.
Yeah, I live here in Southern California. The backdrop hills, the Chaparral Hills, they're a kind of celebrity because they're the background for thousands of TV shows and movies. So it's interesting coming here for the first time. I feel like I'm in an episode of Chips or the Brady Bunch. What's going on? So E.T., Annie, and Robert Rodot's Saving Private Ryan that I referenced earlier. Have you raise your hands? Have you seen that, Kilt?
Saving Private Ryan, yes.
Yes. Okay. And Rachel?
That one, I think I have, or I've seen enough of it to know the scenes that matter. Yeah.
Okay. You may have heard of servant of God Catherine Doherty, the founders of Madonna House. She died in 1985. She's a Russian baroness who was the first white woman to work with urban blacks in Harlem. She's part of the reason why Thomas Merton became a Catholic. There's a chapter in the Seven Story Mountain called The Baroness, which is about her. Okay. So to make a long story longer, her husband, Eddie Doherty, was the highest paid he was a screenwriter and a newspaper reporter with the Chicago Sun, a brilliant writer. He's a writer's writer. Anything by Eddie Doherty is worth reading. And Eddie wrote a 1943 film called The Fighting Sullivans, which is about the Sullivan brothers. It's a World War II story. Saving Private Ryan by Robert Rodot is based on Eddie Doherty's movie. Okay. In fact, there's a reference to the Sullivans in the script. So it's about a teacher who hides his identity. We don't really know what this guy does back in the U.S. until the betting pool gets up to like around 300. And there's a crisis point when they're about to shoot a German soldier who is a sniper. And that's when we learn he's a teacher. So he's got this messianic secret. Until the beginning of Act 3, we don't know who he is. Oh, he's a teacher, and his name's John Miller. It's like every man. And he's sent from a higher authority, namely General Chief of Staff George Marshall, to go behind enemy lines on a rescue mission. So this is already incarnational. A soldier who's doing battle behind enemy territories, behind enemy lines in enemy territory, who gathers together soldiers, and he slowly teaches them what it means to lay down your life. In this case, for someone, A, they don't know, and B, it's not saving General Ryan or Ken Ryan or Major Ryan. The whole mission is on behalf of the lowest totem pole guy, Private Ryan. And it's not liberating Private Ryan or, extracting Private Ryan. Saving is the gerund in the title of the movie. Right. And so Tom Hanks, they go through on this unbelievable adventure. It's just like it's a mini odyssey. I think this movie is genius. And then it all comes down to a confrontation between German tanks and now a really scattershot, weakened U.S. forces. And there's Tom Hanks, John Miller, emptying his 45 on a Panzer tank. And we know he's mortally wounded. He's getting slower and slower, and he's aiming for the staff opening at the front of the Panzer, and he's missing. And all of a sudden, standing over him, trying to encourage him, is Ryan. And out of nowhere, these beautiful Mustangs blow the crap out of the Panzer tanks from the air. And Miller looks up and he says, P-51 Mustangs, angels on our shoulders. And Matt Damon, Ryan, looks at him. And at this point, there's a slow move into his iris as Tom Hanks, as Miller, says to him, earn this. And then he dies. And after he says, earn this, the camera is a slow pan out. And I don't know about you, when I watched the movie, I thought the old man in the Normandy cemetery at the beginning of the film was Miller, the guy who did the rescuing. But no, it's Ryan. It's the one he saved. God in heaven, this is so beautiful. And then Matt Damon's face ages very, very quickly, and he's back. And now we're back at the bookend of the beginning of the film with the flapping gauze American flag. And he spots Captain Miller's cross, and he stiffens and salutes him. And his wife and kids and grandkids are there. And he can barely get the sentence out to his wife. Tell me I've been a good man. Tell me I've earned it. Roll credits. That's why Saving Private Ryan is Catholic and not Protestant. Because it's not just pure free gift and we do nothing but passively, we're like a catcher being hit by baseballs. No, he has to cooperate with it. He has to grow in virtue. And just from that scene of how beautifully he speaks to his wife, that he has earned it. This is why the movie opened in, 40 countries, and it's watched and rewatched and rewatched. The opening 11 minutes are pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be making that part into a musical anytime soon.
Okay, so 2 questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One, that's totally persuasive. One, and the thing is, I'm actually, ET aside, I'm utterly persuaded by your argument that indeed it's the gospel that we tell all the time, if we're telling the truth, right? We're telling the true story. And one of the things we've been talking about this evening is sort of what counts as good stories, what counts as stories that we feel are off. And I mean, the sort of the sort of default strong Tolkien answer that I utterly absolutely accept is we can tell when the story is the gospel and when it's not, and when it's not, it's corrupt and horrible, whatever it is, right? And it's like in any fragment of the scriptural narrative is going to feel real, and anything that goes against it is going to feel awful and horrible and broken.
Yeah.
So I absolutely accept that. So, I mean, in a sense, we're only ever, I mean, if we're telling a true story, we're only ever telling that story because it's the true story. And God and the scriptures are, they do contain all of the different sort of subcategories of this story from the Old Testament and the the large arc from Genesis to Revelation, but then the little arc. So we've talked a lot about all of these in our writing. It's like in this moment when you can see or Kiltz is actually very good at this, saying this is like that moment in the scriptures, and now you know where you are. Now you know where our problem of the story is. I hope I can share this and it's appropriate. So when back in the day when I was battling, whatever it is on campus about, standing up against mandates and so forth and such. And Kiltz very reassuringly said to me, it's Daniel. He's there in Nebuchadnezzar's court, not eating the king's food, and yet he's protected. And that kept me going. You say that
that's good.
And so it's not just Christ's story, it's the whole thing. All of these are pieces of that great story that we are always in, and anything that isn't that is not of God. And we can feel it. I mean, we've been feeling it over and over and over again as we're working on our little pieces of our story, but also in this giant arc of understanding what it means to participate in that.
Yeah. And transfer the big picture of salvation history to a screenplay is about more or less 110 to 120 pages. I went quiet all of a sudden. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Every scene is a miniature 3-act structure. If it's done well, every scene has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so there's like rings within rings. David Mamet, one of my favorite all-time, I think his movie, The Verdict, is just The Verdict, Casablanca, and Citizen Kane, I think, are the best 3 scripts. This is 1982. It's the one he should have won. It was nominated for 6. It won 0. It's one of the mysteries of the universe. But Mamet said that stories, if they work, they have to have 3 acts, a beginning, a middle, and an end in that order, which is why French movies suck.
Okay.
What have they done now?
What have the French done now?
Yes.
They keep awarding the late Jerry Lewis award after award. Just kind of burned out. Yeah. Another example. Sorry, Kelts.
No. I'm thinking. So this resonates again with the scriptures, because you have interreferential resonances in the different books of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to link to other parts, right? So you've got the I'm just thinking like the three. I can't give an example, otherwise I'll waffle on for too long. But basically, like the three mini acts in the greatest stories, like the Exodus, where you've got the Moses being a baby and then going into the house and then growing up, and then he kills the overseer of the slaves. That could be an entire thing in itself. It's like a story in 3 acts, but that's just one piece of the greatest story. So that makes sense.
Totally true. Yeah. And Joseph the Patriarch, another. Yeah. It's one of the things I love reading to my daughters when they were little, is that story. And I would say, hey, pay attention to what this sounds. If this sounds familiar, raise your hand. You know, he's thrown in his 12 brothers out of jealousy, throw him into a well for 3 days. Jesus was in the tomb. Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. Oh, good. Okay, good. So they've already got the whiff of type, anti-type.
Yeah.
So you've got this epic stories within the great epic story of Alpha to Omega. It's awesome.
Yeah, your daughters have understood medieval exegesis better than most.
Yeah.
Modern scholarship, right? It's like it's type, anti-type. It's the pattern is there. Christ is constantly fulfilling the pattern, but it's like fractal. We're going to be constantly saying that the and Kilts, I think what you're pointing to is that it's always going to be in the giant pattern is always going to be replicated in each of the smaller sections. Yes, that makes makes absolute sense. Yeah. We now have to put fractals in the drawings for Draco Chemicus somehow.
Can I use one more example?
Sure.
Just to kind of recoup some dignity, since ET doesn't quite land on you.
Well, you want 3. You want 3. You're going for 3 here, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true. I am. Well, we can delete ET
delete
for you,
ET
especially.
or Little Orphan Annie, which I haven't seen, but now I want to, and Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan. I'm persuaded on those. Yeah. On those.
There is there's a woke version involving a Black or Asian Annie, and it's terrible. It's your 2 hours, but the 79 classic by Anne Reinking plays Grace. She's one of the greatest Bob Fosse style actresses on Broadway. King, amazing. So I'm thinking of the first Spider-Man movie starring Tobey Maguire. Mm-hmm. So Peter Parker, you guys have probably talked about this a lot. So this is not a first class original insight for y'all, I'm sure. Peter Parker is a kind of humanity paired with the divinity of Spidey powers. He has an adoptive father, Uncle Ben, right? Mm-hmm. Tells him with great power comes great responsibility. And Peter Parker figures out that, and there's Peter, right? So Peter, while he's shy, retiring, introvert, he's a rock. He figures out that if he's going to fight evil in an unmediated way, he's got to do things differently than most of his peers are doing. And as he grows in his quasi-divine powers as Spider-Man, he's tempted by the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe. And the Green Goblin takes him to the top of a skyscraper, overlooks the city, and basically says,
"That's good. Yes.
If you bow down and worship me, all these kingdoms will be yours."
Very good. Yes.
And I love that. The one little note on scripture that I love when you start paying attention to the finesse of little details is that Jesus knows the kingdoms are Satan's. They are Satan's to give him. They are his kingdom. And so, there's that temptation narrative. And of course, Peter says no, he declines it. But in the end, he can't get Mary Jane. He's got to be celibate. It's the only way he can fight evil. He has to give up his dream of marriage to her and kids and being a husband to be a kind of divine, super humble husband who rescues, because no one knows that he's really just an ordinary Peter Parker. So those are those sort of more whiffs of the gospel story, I think, with an accidental homage to celibacy as an extremely effective way to fight evil without the distraction, so to speak, of family life. That's my spiel.
We're persuaded. Now, we started tonight talking with Chuck Dixon about comics, and I have my short version little argument about comics is that they are an incarnational art. And that it's like they're a twinning of word and image, and that they have this capacity, therefore, to show the incarnation in a way that other art forms have difficulty. And that one of the things that's interesting about the sort of theorizing around comics that Scott McCloud has done is he's always wrestling with the problem that everybody writes superhero comics. Right, he's always frustrated by it, and then the only he wrote Understanding Comics, this great McLuhan-esque series. If you haven't read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, you're missing out on some good McLuhan lore. Okay. But he's when McCloud did write a comic, he wrote a kind of comedic superhero thing, but he still sort of defaults to superhero. And if you realize that they're an incarnational art, of course they're going to, because the sort of entering into our story world of the word is going to have the shape of that kind of story. So of course they default to superheroes, because superheroes are participating in that realization of the true story.
Yeah. Comics seem to me to be they're frozen mediators between a short story and a movie, because it's the marriage of the written word and the image, but the images are not in motion. So it's stop motion instead of motion picture.
Well, so and that's what McCloud talks a lot about that. And it's like showing, it's like you have to fill it all in. And that we were talking about that a bit with Chuck, that in a comic, there's the space. It's like the space between the panels is the place where your mind enters into the story, because you're having to make these hermeneutic leaps. And one of that is to give you the illusion that things are moving, because you're right, they're static. And so I was, I read about all of this some years ago, because I was trying to understand medieval imagery, particularly because it's got the labels on it and then diagrams. And a lot of what we're doing in Draco Alchemicus is thinking through the kinds of visionary diagrams that monastic authors like Hildegard used to make all of, it's like, how do you show the mystery of Revelation? So we have a superhero. So I realized we've done a very nice arc tonight with the three guests, plus Rob, who came in and wasn't prepped for, and so his camera didn't work. my vision of it, but the comics plus the novel, because Hans is a novelist, plus the screenwriting, and that this whole thing is this arc of showing how we participate in that one great story of the incarnation. Always.
There's one challenge that comes with writing a screenplay and not a comic book, and that is, if you're a confused Catholic, then your symbol system might be really upside down, and it's jarring. A good example is Pan's Labyrinth, and pretty much every movie by Guillermo del Toro, who's obsessed with abortion. He's a kind of a nascent lapsed Catholic. And in Pan's Labyrinth, you have these disgusting sort of clicky, like if you're
I didn't like Pan's Labyrinth, and that one I don't think you're going to persuade me to like.
Right? No, I'm not. I'm not asking you to like it. I'm saying the symbol systems are all screwed up. You can't have an ugly emissary of purity and goodness. It does not work. And I think he wants to avoid cliche, but cliches are just truths that we tire of hearing because they're true and they recur so frequently. The symbols have got to they have to line up. I think the Harry Potter movies, which I didn't see any of them, but I understand that the borrowing of occultish symbols to accomplish good ends causes a little bit of cognitive dissonance. I'm not in the historical anti-Harry Potter thing myself, but
I flip back and forth on Harry Potter because this is actually topical to our magic segment, which is coming up soon. That on the one hand, it seemed to me Rowling was I mean, she was very insightful in the sort of story structure context that she took. She took training in a she's a monastery, right? So you drop Harry. I mean, he has all of these, loss of parents and things like that. So he's dropped into the story, the school year structure, and school year structure is very easy to narrate because it has seasonal, but also hopefully the characters are going through trials and training, right? So they're in school. So I think that's why and obviously Tom Brown's school days and rugby and things like that. But for the most part, but the problem is there's a mythological level of the battle between good and evil, and the bad wizards and the Malfoy Dracos, right? And the good wizards. But all of the training that they have is in science, right? They have it's history with a ghost who is therefore boring, and only Hermione gets why it's so important. But the other things they learn are chemistry, like potions, right? Botany, magical plants, zoology. They do magical animals. They do, like battle tactics, defense against the dark arts. But at no point do they actually have any spiritual training, except for, I suppose, through the conflict of the story. And so I go back and forth in the sense of whether or not Rowling is actually mainly participating in the techno fetishism, right? That the things that people like about the stories is they want to be wizards and they want to therefore train, but they're basically doing science class.
Yeah, I think she's stumbled onto elements of the great tradition, the great story.
It's sort of like you can't not do it if you're actually paying proper attention to the stories. They're going to start affecting you, like you said, atheists and secular Jews, or flaps Catholics and secular. You're going to get, if you're actually paying attention to the strength of the stories, you're going to get caught into the real one, and so she could. But I think she was. I mean, the resolution that she gives to the story is Harry is saved by his mother's love. So that's.
Yeah, as a single welfare mom, is a fittingness to her creating that dynamic. And also the story shapes people. Harry as a character shapes the audience. Maybe that's why his name is Potter.
Yes, that's a nice one. There's a lot. So I go back, like I said, I go back and forth on her books, because sometimes I think they're they're very easy to read. You read them very fast, quite quickly. Yeah. We used to pick them up at the release at midnight and fight over who got to read it by morning. But they're a good example of, the degree to which something that's super popular, is it drawing people into Christ's truth, or is it diverting them with promises of power?
It's hard to know how to A-B which is which. I remember defending Darren Aronofsky's movie Noah, starring Russell Crowe and Jennifer Connelly, because it's just he's an atheist Jew, Aronofsky, but he created 2 hours with music and power based on half a chapter in Genesis 6 that has almost no lines in it. That's pretty impressive. And Billy Hollowell I think he was with Breitbart at the time, noticed something that Bible software all over the world in multiple languages in the month after Noah came out had a huge spike in software purchase and focusing on a keyword search of Noah in that story. So, it wasn't made by Daily Mass.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So little seed planting things happen. Lifelong agnostic Robert Bolt wrote The Mission, directed by Roland Joffe, starring Jeremy Irons and Robert De Niro. Have you seen The Mission? That beautiful Ennio Morricone music? Yeah. He also wrote, for my money, the second greatest Saint movie ever, Man for All Seasons, directed by a Jew, Fred Zinnemann. So this is a powerful for salvation through story, which is the point of the gospel, right? Yeah. That we need that we actually need Christ's intervention into story to take us there, right? And therefore this is my continuing argument. Although I don't think you and I have Patrick have discussed this through, but
The difference between theology is propositional, right? You know, and theology encountered through the storytelling, and that I obviously think that, you know, the storytelling is far more effective because that's what God did, right? Enters into the story. We need to be in the gospel to see all of these things, and otherwise it doesn't mean you can't beat us over the head with the claim.
Right.
It has to come through the stories.
That's a good point. You don't have Judas 3 verse 5, and then Jesus said, "I would like to discuss analytic philosophy and metaphysics." No,
right.
You do. You know, Matthew 15 begins, "A man traveled from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves." Now you've got me at hello.
Right.
If you've driven from Jerusalem to Jericho, it's a really badass, windy, dangerous road, and that, of course, is the first line of the Good Samaritan parable. Yeah, stories.
And that's another of the fractal elements that the parable. So what we're hoping to do in Drake Alchemicus is a kind of parable too, right? It's like the point about parables is at some point and preachers love doing this, right? You find yourself identifying with each of the different characters because they're showing you things from all of these different perspectives, and that it's by wrestling with the characters that you come to the realization and the truth, and that it's a kind of understanding that you cannot get simply by being told, be good.
Yeah, you have to be shown it.
Yeah,
show. That's the other watchword. Show, don't tell.
You gonna show us some magic?
For a huge fee, which for you I'm willing to triple.
Good.
Yes. I asked you if you had a deck of cards. It can't be this because the pips are unknown to me. Do you have a regular deck of cards there?
Do I? No. So can I not school you in the pips of those, or those? I mean,
yeah, no, it would be too late. It's okay. I've got plenty.
I've got 9 hours
in material.
I sat down with my cards of the dragon sorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no cards.
She is cardless.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, I'm going to get to these, but because I'm not that familiar with the pips, I want to show you an effect that is. I became a magician to find out how I do this. That's a lame joke. Thank you for
never mind. I don't know. Get the joke.
I'm going to go. Kiltz is shaking her head unapprovingly. All right.
Okay, you're going to show us your hands now.
Can you see this?
Perfect.
Oh, fantastic then. All right. Great. Wunderbar.
I finally get to look at my own screen.
There's nothing. I will keep everything in frame, so I'm not going to do any fancy moves. So I'm going to take this out, the cards here. This is going to go here. Okay. Can you still see that?
We can see a bit of your computer touchpad. Do you?
Yeah. No. This is it's a
no, not the blue. The actual silver is in the screen.
Oh. Okay. Good. Thank you. That's excellent.
That's a bit better.
There's a happy medium.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
I think we can see the cards better now.
Grand. Okay. So if I were to take this deck and make 3 different piles, and I said, hey, there's 17, 17, 18, that would not be that impressive because that's what 52 adds up to, right? Mm-hmm. There are 52 cards in the deck. The lore is that this corresponds to 52 weeks in a year. There are 13 from ace to king values. There are 13 weeks per season. The values of all 52 cards, if you add them together, adds up to 364. If you add a joker every 4 years, that's 365. Red for the sun, black suits for the night. Lots of symbolism.
You've made us even happier at the thought that we made cards as a reward for our time travel story.
Yeah, it's cool. So what I'll do is, ordinarily I'd hand the deck to you guys, but since we're doing this cyberly, that's a word, we'll do it this way. I want to get to 3 random cards with your help and my help too. So I'm just going to count down to any number between 1 and 17. And I'll just so you won't think it's math, I'll even tell you what my Count to 7.
Okay.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, there's my cards. Kilts, name any number between 1 and 17. Doesn't matter which.
I say it out loud?
Yes.
7.
7. Okay. I'm going to get to the 7th card now. That's the 11th card. 11th card. This is the 7th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. RFB, your turn. Any number between 1 and 17.
8.
Go.
8.
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, this card and this card and this card are random because we didn't know each other's numbers, correct?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to just place them here face down for now. Good. Now, this is the randomness part. It's really fun. I'm going to put one card on the bottom. The other 2 cards are going to be splayed out to the left and to the right. It's going to look like this. I want to make sure I do this correctly. So the top card goes on the bottom, and then the other 2 cards will be displayed left and right. So 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So 3 aces, not bad. What's missing? The club, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No fancy moves. I'm just going to turn this over, count down club. CLUB. Okay, well, club, not quite the ace. I'm going to lay that there. Move this aside. And I'm just going to make a little pattern like this. You see that? It's still the jack in the frame, right?
It's in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So you see these?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
They're all the jacks.
What?
We're still missing that ace of clubs, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to cut the deck just to defeat any order. And ordinarily, I would ask you to do this, but I'll have to do it since we're separated. This is a random cut.
Okay.
Okay? Now, what we've got so far is all 4 jacks are in a pattern, starting from randomness. Now we've got some order. We've got 3 of the 4 aces. We're missing the ace of clubs. So this, where I cut to, will be the finder card. I'll turn this face up. Okay, 3 of clubs, 3 of spades, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm doing this in my hand because I run out of space. This is just a regular cut. There's no sleight of hand here. I'm literally just cutting the deck. And I will keep cutting until you tell me to stop.
Wait, who said
You
stop?
do.
Oh. Stop.
Okay, I'll stop. So, and there is the... Here it is. Okay. 3. 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
All right. 2 more steps here. The intervening cards.
Very nice.
Now, this has been here the whole time. I haven't touched it. So I'm going to slide it into frame very slowly.
That
So-
is so freaky.
There you have absolute order starting from absolute chaos because the deck was continually shuffled. I didn't know what numbers you guys were going to start with. I went first so that I couldn't piggyback mathematically. So there it is. There it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bravo.
Thank you.
That is really
All right.
freaky to watch.
It's really cool, isn't it? Wait till he
is
uses
amazing.
our cards. It feels like
Oh yeah, I will. I want to make sure. Do I have any jokers here?
I didn't know that about the I mean I studied tarot, but I realized I usually concentrate on the Trump series because I went back when I was reading Augustine City of God and also playing with tarot, realizing that you can I probably can't do it now, but you can remember the chapters of the books of Augustine City of God if you match them to the Trumps, because they actually they actually to a certain extent follow the series, which could be because the Trump designers knew Augustine, but rather than vice versa. But
could be right. Yeah. Also, 4 seasons, 4 suits. 13 weeks per season is what it is.
Well, so the suits in our deck are meant to follow the significance of the pips, right? They're not randomly picked as designs. They actually have they're analogs to the standard pips.
Got you. So this is fun. Just gently, totally.
No.
Yeah, I can actually one by one get rid of them. So, just name kilts. Just name one. I'll stop, and we'll just pick. I can know what it is. Doesn't matter.
So do I say what I say?
Yeah, just say which one. Yep.
Um, 2 of Hearts.
2 of Hearts. Okay, good.
What?
No, that's it. 2 of Hearts, right?
Yes, that's what she. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, watch. All right. Here's what I want to do. I want your card on top. I hope this works. Tell me if this looks familiar. Right. So I'm going to place the Draco Alchemicus cards. This is very substantial because I can't move it around. It's too heavy. It's got cards. It's literally full of the deck. Okay. So watch. So just say it out loud. I'm drawing this out for a reason. What is that card? The one you selected, Kill. Say it out loud.
It's a 2 of Hearts.
It's not the diamond, right? It's the 2 of Hearts.
No.
You're looking right at it.
Yep.
So you would pass a lie detector tomorrow that the first card is the 2 of Hearts because you thought it and you picked it and we're using it, right? Okay.
Yep.
Bonk. Now, the next card down on top is say that out loud.
The Jack of Clubs.
Jack of Clubs. So for sure, 2 of Hearts, Jack of Clubs. You're looking right at it, right?
Yeah.
Your senses. Rachel's looking away. Like
no,
I'm
looking in the chat because I see whether they're.
Okay. So here we go. I'm going to put this just on top. That's all I need to do. Did you feel that? Do you feel how weird that is? No, wait a second. I'm being Googled. That's different. 3, 2, 1.
No.
So I'm just going to put that there, and I'm going to lift this off there. If these have not switched, this is a crappy trick. All right, there it is.
No.
All right.
How are you doing that?
Thank you.
I
would
knew you were
tell
going
you.
to tell me, but
I could tell you, Kilts, but I'd have to have you killed. That's the rule. So let's move to this because now this is the fun stuff. I've come up with something I think you're going to love because there's no sleight of hand. All right.
Okay.
I've picked on Kilts enough. Rachel, you pick this or this. I forget the colors. So gold and what?
It's one's the alchemical dragon, so gold, led into gold, and the other one's the brazen serpent. It's obvious.
Fantastic. Okay, sorry. Sorry, everybody. When it's spelled Sawwy, it's not sincere. Sorry.
Okay, I will have the alchemical gold. So the green one. The green. Yeah,
the green.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to change your mind? Okay, very good. Now, whatever you say out loud, we'll go with. any number between 1 and 20. I will count down to that number.
13.
13. I'm going to go.
7.
Oh, now I feel guilty, like I forced you off it.
7.
7 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, you know what I did? I forgot that. Well, normally if we were in person, I would hand you the deck and you do it. But let me just cut the deck. I just realized this is much better live, but I think this is still going to work.
This is super impressive, being able to do it over the internet.
So,
you're entering magic into the internets.
Okay, cool. So 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I'm not very good at math, but I do know that 52 times 2 is 104, and that you had a 50-50 chance to pick this deck, which you did. I tried to knock you off your choice, and you wouldn't do it. And then you said a card out of 1 of 20, a number rather, 1 out of 20. You said 13, and you did change your mind to 7. Then I gave you a chance to change it backward to something else, and you were resolute 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the 7th card of the deck that you picked, right? So I'm drawing this out for a reason. There's no fast motion. There's literally no sleight of hand. This is just your choice. I'm following and doing what you're saying. This is the 7th card down. 6 of, what are you calling this, Pip?
The flowers.
Okay, wonderful. Now, here's the other deck, the deck you didn't pick. I'm going to do this really slow. Okay.
See, you don't even know what the pips are called, so how can you be sliding hand anything?
There should be something odd about the deck that you... Oh, there we go. How many other cards are the wrong way?
None of them.
This is the remainder of the deck here. Every last card is face up except for one, which is face down. This is the remainder deck. You picked this one. This is the one you didn't pick.
No! You're actually a magician. The freakiest thing I've ever seen on the internet.
Okay, Kiltz gets the award. Kiltz gets the reaction award. That's awesome. Very good.
We made those cards. They're not even normal cards.
They're not even normal cards.
You didn't even know what the bip was. This is so freaky.
No.
Sorry,
It's pretty fun. He showed me some of these when we were doing the tech test, so it's like I know he can do it. I don't know how he's doing it.
Strictly weird. Once in a while, if I have... Sorry. Just grabbing one thing. Once in a while, I get little odd premonitions. And I had one today, earlier. So, Kilt, let me ask you to say, I want you to say 2 numbers out loud between 1 and 10. The first 2 numbers between 1 and 10 that come to mind.
See, it was 6 and 4.
6 and 4? That's it? Rachel? Yeah. So 6 and 4. What about you, Rach?
2 and 3.
No, just one, because we're going to go with the 3-digit number to keep it Trinitarian. 6, 4,
2.
And 2?
Mm-hmm.
So all together now, the numbers are 642?
642.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's very strange. Now my handwriting isn't very good. But I did write it down earlier. Put it in my impossibly cool leather jacket.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I know. This is... Look at her face!
Kiltz is really quiet.
I put myself on mute, man.
It's. I know I'm successful if someone drops an involuntary potty word. Like,
Hey, we're trained professionals on
muted
stream. We
myself.
know what happens if we say anything and it becomes clippable.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Never disappeared.
So these are beautifully rendered cards. Congrats
Thank
on
you.
these. A lot of thought went into them. They're slightly smaller than bicycle cards, but they're not that European weenie, almost like miniature feel.
Yeah.
They're like, there's a heftiness to them. And yeah, congratulations. It's
Thank
a
you.
marvelous mix because there's a story. I mean, there's a story to randomness. There's a story to these cards. And the fact that they're a little bit offbeat means that they become conversation starters as well.
I think
We hope
so. Shall we? Can we explain that the pips? There is a point to them.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
sure.
still having a
Kiltz is freaking out.
I'll
Kilt's like, no, whoa.
Yeah, okay, that's a dad joke. So the point, like you said, the numerical significance and the time and the seasons. That in tarot, the pips are the elements, right? And in the tarot decks, which are the ancestors to our playing card decks, they're swords. I'm gonna break it. Swords, cups, coins, and wands. And those become the spade. So swords become spades, cups become hearts, coins become diamonds, and wands become clubs. And that those are meant to be air, water, earth, and fire. Right.
I'll bet you could transpose the 4 classic temperaments too from the Greeks: sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic.
Yes. So and that's the way in the tarot readings people read the particular characters of the decks of the suits. So in our deck, the swords are daggers because that suit refers to the Elizabethan period, and that's why the court cards in that one are in Elizabethan dress. The flowers refer to the Commedia dell'arte and their love. Right, it's the Harlequin and Columbine and Scaramouche. The diamonds are gears because that goes with the steampunk theme, and it's the market and industry and magic, science and stuff. So the gears, and they also they're coin shaped, right? So they refer back to the tarot deck, and the vine one is the hardest one we had to design because we were trying to design it as in the tarot deck, the rods are often like flowering. They're fire and power and growth and so forth. And we ended up with the vine imagery in the design process. And we say, yeah, that's actually right. So, and then I was thinking we have 2 artifacts, the daggers and the gears, and 2 organics, the flowers and the vines. So we can do a lot of symbolic play off of the pip structures. So that's why they are what they are.
Have you ever tried to design a card game?
No, now we have our own cards. We should do that.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. It's like writing a joke.
Yes.
Or designing a magic effect. It's very, very hard. Wow, just so much math.
Well, okay, and then you will appreciate that a lot of, so there's in our opening act, one of the things that's happening is the couple in the casino is making bets on the horse races. And we have shown already the illustration for this, and the man is working through all of these mathematical equations and stuff, and the woman is going with sort of symbolism and astrology and so forth. And so one of the big lessons in our story is, I mean, these are not opposites, they're intention and complementary, but we end up like trying to do only math or only symbol, and they end up in a fight, obviously.
Yeah.
The arts of number and word need to be wedded.
Yeah. I was thinking about ambition, and now some people are just hopelessly ambitious. No matter what you do, they just rise back to the top. If you got this hyper survival gene that expresses itself. I don't know if I showed you this, Rachel. Maybe I did. It's really cool. This is something I can make use of it because it's not dependent on what the pips mean. Name any card, whatever you say, I'll just take it out and we'll use it as an example of an ambitious card. So when you think, which of these 52 cards is the most ambitious, what comes to mind? There's no right answer, just something symbolic of ambition.
Two wheels. Two of wheels.
Okay, 2 wheels.
Yeah.
All right.
We have a super chat that I need to read for you after you do this.
This is the 2 wheels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is, I'll kind of, I will, there we go. I'll manifest this just by doing it live. So the 2 wheels, put it in the middle, and something weird happens. Even though it went into the middle, it's, as Kilt said, very ambitious. Takes it to the top again. Now I'm going to go really slow. There's no move to catch. Slide it somewhere near the middle, right there.
I've never seen Kilt speechless like this. It's great.
Again. Like, wow.
I'm scared of you.
Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm going to put a bend in it. So only
I'm
one.
genuinely scared of you now.
No. She's really grateful we're doing this by the internet, not in the same room. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not wearing the warrior paint for my face. So I'll put a really obvious bend so we can identify your ambitious card, okay? So watch. I'll just, see? Slide it in. Doesn't have to be exactly in the middle.
No way. No way.
So she's like, I'm not sure if this is love or hate. Like, normally it's, bravo, more magic, son, more magic, son.
You're dealing with a poet. This is important.
It's like, you know when everyone's saying that they're getting triggered all the time.
Triggered, yeah.
This is like, for a poet, this kind of behavior is like, it's like,
I love your use of the language behavior, not performance, not art, nothing glorious, the behavior.
No, it's wonderful. It's,
Thank you.
I'm
just collect yourself. It's okay.
I'm in awe of how this happens with a deck that isn't even like a standard deck. You know, if you were doing it with like a normal stack of cards,
yeah,
the potential is you've read them, you've studied them, you know,
yeah,
the little creases to figure out the order and all of that. Nothing.
Exactly.
You're using fresh cards.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Which I sent to him on the weekend, right? Because he's the only person in the world that has these decks other than me. Because I had the shipment. Oh, actually, I sent some guys some off to our team, but yeah. So there is nothing that he could have. So anyway,
nothing.
No, Patrick, this one's for you. It's from Sleep Deprived Bear. Okay. We actually have super chats in Unauthorized TV. She said, he or she, I'm not sure who it is. Thank you, Patrick, for not throwing EMJ under the bus. Hope is fuel. Also, great stream.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for that.
So
yeah, I'm speechless. Really, so happy that you did that. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait, what's the voodoo that's going to give you bad dreams, or not dumping E. Michael Jones? Which?
Oh, both.
I don't get it.
I just you were still in ecstasy over the trick that I was reading the super chat.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I'm off with
no.
The theory.
She's no that.
I'm still shocked.
You come back into the real world of
okay,
internet, battles, and yes.